Alright, so what I have here is a kind of a behavior, part of our behavior process, or kind of our behavior kind of progression process in the classroom. This is called a yellow card. It's one of the first things we do. Usually in this behavior, kind of in our behavior management policy, usually most students get a warning for the first time. The second time that we have to address them for whatever behavior is violating the classroom rules, they get handed this yellow card. The reason why this yellow card exists, it's relatable to students. Most students here, this being Seattle and a heavy soccer city, most students understand the concept of a yellow card, that it's something that they're not, this is not a punishment in a sense. They're not being removed from the classroom or anything like that, but they are being warned that they're on their way there, that they're on their way to kind of making an egregious, I guess, kind of behavior, and that they need to correct it. This gives them a chance to reflect on the behavior, because by this time, this is the second time that we've given them this. This is meant to be a private warning. That's usually what some teachers will do, is they'll give a first warning and then they'll approach the student and give them that private warning. Sometimes that works. Sometimes they issue with that also, is you're in the middle of a lesson and it takes away from the instruction time and it pays attention to the whole class then looking at what you're talking to that student, even if you're trying to do it on private. So what you do is you give them this silently. A couple of caveats with this is you have to practice this. You have to explain this at the beginning of the year, and how the students respond to this. When you hand them the yellow card, you have to make sure you explain at the beginning of the year that it's not something for them to make a show of. So something to say, well, why am I getting a yellow card? Or it's not fair. It's something that they get to discuss on the questions they have to answer, and they have that private conversation with you after class is out. So during that passing period, you have that conversation with them about the behavior and what they thought and whether they thought it was fair and whatnot. You also have to have them understand they have to take it seriously. Something like if in a soccer match a player gets a yellow card and he blows it off or yells at the ref or whatnot, it changes it to a red card. It becomes something more egregious than just a warning. So they have to know that as well. Once they're handed this yellow card privately, they have to take it seriously. There's a consequence for not taking it seriously later. They don't hand it back to you in the middle of class. They stay with it. It stays on their desk. It's something that they later, at the end of class, they hand to you and you talk to them about, and you can keep a file, and that way you have a record of how many yellow cards you have given a student. So if it becomes a pattern, you notice it. I've given this week the student 3 yellow cards, so it's a little too many. Or I've given them a yellow card every single day. Great, he turns it around, but he shouldn't be getting a yellow card every single day. The questions they have to answer is what do they think the behavior they engaged on, which caused a problem, and so they have to reflect on how they have disrupted the class, whether whether they were getting up around from their seat when they were supposed to, or they weren't engaging in the work, or they were working on something else rather than the classwork, so on. The second question is, what do you think it can be done to correct the situation? It gives them a time to think, okay, what are my next steps? I messed up, I wasn't paying attention, so next time, or I was walking around next time, maybe I had a question, that's why I was walking around. They can write that down there. Next time, instead of walking around to look for the answer, I can raise my hand and ask permission, or I can ask somebody in my group. So those are some steps. And then the last one says, have you been treated unfairly? Most teachers are afraid of asking that, because most students will say, oh, yes, I've been treated unfairly. That's kind of something. But some students, they'll say, most students have actually noticed that will say, no, I kind of deserved it. I had been warned once already. I kept doing it. So, yeah, it was fine. Sometimes if you do get treated unfairly, sometimes you get an explanation. And sometimes it's, I was getting up and moving around because I just really had to go to the bathroom, or I was having a problem with the person on my desk and I didn't know how to get away. Mm-hmm. Or there's some family situation going on right now which kept me from doing my work at the time. And so you might be able to actually find out some information about the student that you might not have known in the past, and you might think they're just doing it to distract or to avoid the work, but they're actually doing it because of some other extenuating circumstances. So this is the yellow card.